Hi guys, I'm Woodcraft Hamster and I thought I'd do another episode today on our eucalyptus bowl. Now, this isn't going to be so much an episode about me doing something, though I will do a little bit of work on it, but it was really to talk about something that you don't often see in YouTube videos when people are making things like this. And it's basically the fact that I've sort of hit a bit of a brick wall when it comes to what I'm going to do with this bowl. So obviously we've hollowed it out. We've got some work going on the sides, but there's still a huge excess of waste wood on here. And I've reached that point where I'm really not sure what I want to do with it now. Now, I think every wood carver gets to this position in some point or another. And like, most people's videos, and mine included, quite often you just skip that step. Until you've decided what you want to do with it, and then you move on and you video that part. And whenever I watch a video of somebody carving something, it tends to flow really nicely, and you start at sort of step one and you move all the way through and you get this lovely finished thing at the end of it. But I don't think many people, especially if you're new to carving, get told about some of the problems that you come up against, and whether that's cracking because something has split, or because you've got a particularly twisty piece of wood, or the design you wanted won't work with the grain, or whatever it might be. So I thought I'd just spend a little bit of time today sort of just discussing it more than anything, just so that people don't sort of go away with the impression that every time you pick up a piece of wood and start carving, everything works perfectly, because in real life it really just doesn't. But what I wanted to show you on this, so obviously, as I say, we've got our bowl in, and the bowl's turned out pretty well. Needs a bit of finishing, but actually it's pretty good as it stands. We've worked down some of these sides to a very vague approximation of what I'm going for. But actually the depth of the bowl, and if I just prop this up, so the depth of the bowl is probably down to about here, I would say. So we've got a huge amount of waste wood down here. Now I could just sit there and hack away at that, or even use a saw and cut down. Saw would be quicker, but I'm not a huge fan of doing that on big pieces like this, so I'll probably end up using my axe. But really it's the design and where I want to go with on this bowl. So I know I want these sides sort of slightly tapered in. I do like the idea of using the gouge and having a sort of a slight lip at the top. But really, it's because it's such a large piece of wood, it's just pretty slow going. So what I'm going to do, I think today, you're probably not going to see much of a difference in this between sort of now and the end of the episode. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my axe. I'm using my smaller one today. It's my little Hans Carlson Sloyd axe, which I haven't used a great deal at the moment, so I thought I'd give it a bit of an airing. And really, I'm just going to start taking away some of this waste wood. Now, one of the problems I find, especially with people new to carving, is there's a real temptation when you have a mass of waste wood like this, is to try and remove a lot of it very quickly. Now, personally, I don't subscribe to that. I've learnt my lessons the hard way, and the problem is if I take the axe and I try and shear off sort of a large chunk from the bottom here, knowing I've got a lot of waste wood to work with, it's very easy for something to split off of a bigger sort of capacity than you're intending to, or you catch the grain and it runs all the way along and you ruin a perfectly good piece of work. So for me, it's about taking small cuts, controlled cuts, and certainly smaller pieces of wood off. And although it's a longer process, you have a lot more control over it. So anyway, I've rambled on for a little while, guys, so I'm going to bring the camera a bit closer in. I'll do my usual, I'll move the camera around a bit just so you can see a few different views of what I'm doing, and I'll see what I can get to by the end of this episode. So I've just put a very rough pencil mark down the side here. This is probably about an inch below the bottom of my bowl, and I certainly don't want to take it any higher than that, just in case I go a bit too far. And all I'm going to be doing, taking my axe and just working down, removing some chips. Now this axe, I think I've said before in my other videos, I'm not massively familiar with it. I'm used to using my Gransfors that has a flat edge on this side, which means you can almost kind of use it as a plane. This one has got an asymmetrical grind, which means you really, if I move this camera around a bit. So you really have to sort of come in. Let's see, there we go. You know, so you can't come in flat like I can with the Grand Swords. I have to come in at an angle to get the blade to bite. And that's not a problem by any means, but it's something that I kind of forget now and again. So you may see me kind of chopping away like this and then sort of coming down and literally just rubbing the side of the axe against it, because I really need to get my eye in and start using this axe a bit more. So there you go guys, quick couple of minutes worth of work. And actually, do you know what, for some wood that I really was worried about being sort of splitty and warped and very, very twisty, it's actually cutting relatively well. Now it's starting to dry out. Obviously it's still a big, big lump of wood this, so you know there's still a lot of moisture in there. You can see the dark patches here, which is the sort of fresh wood underneath where the outer layer has dried a bit. But what I think I'll do, I'll carry on for another sort of 10 minutes or so, just see where I can get to with this, and I'll come back and I'll hopefully be able to make a decision on where I'm going. Now I was curious to see what sort of a difference my Gränsfors Swedish carving axe would make. Now obviously it's a bigger axe, it's a heavier axe, probably better suited for this kind of work really. But I wanted to give the Hans Carlsen a go, and I thought I'll just see how this compares. And actually, because of this heavier, wider blade, and the fact that hopefully you can see there that on your, what's that going to be? It's my left, so it'd be on your right hand side. You have a flat edge on this axe, which is this side, and then you've got a slightly more rounded edge, which will be on your left on this side. So what it means is that when I move this round for you, so when I come in to cut into the wood here, I can be practically flat and still be cutting. I really don't have to come in at this kind of, I mean this is probably a bit over and above, but I don't have to come in at this kind of wide angle. I can come in really, really close and still cut you know, perfectly well. The other thing to remember guys is when you're carving, especially with a big piece of wood like this, is that you want to start your carving say from half or 2/3 of the way up, carve that all the way down as I've done here, and then flip it over, which is what I've just done. Hopefully this is picking up all right on the camera, so you've got quite a sort of depression here. What I don't want to be doing is kind of trying to come all the way up to the top here to get rid of all of this, because the further you get from the center line, the more the grain generally wants to split. So you just flip it over like so, and where you've got this sort of quite sort of protruding piece down here, you just start again and work your way back up. Right then guys, well I think that's me about done for the day. I mean still a fair bit of work to be done. There's more axe work to go on this base, bit more smoothing down. Really need to sort of review how I'm going to do these sides again. Probably just a bit more work with the gouge if truth be told. But actually now that I've removed sort of the bulk of that down there, I can see more of how this bowl's going to look, or at least how I think it's going to look. It's getting a bit closer to where I want it to be, and really that was the purpose of this episode. You know, if you are carving something, whether it's a big bowl like this, whether it's a small eating spoon or anything in between, if you reach a point where you get stuck or the design you had in mind's not working out, you know, take 5 minutes, take an hour, chill out, relax, come back to it, and if you can't see a way to immediately fix what you're doing or make it go the way you want it to, most often what I tend to do is just start carving away relatively small pieces. By doing that, you'll start revealing kind of where the wood's going to let you go, and hopefully after an amount of time, you know, as I've done today, you know, I can now see sort of a little bit better in my mind how this is going to turn out. And you know, I know this is kind of a fairly bandied around phrase, but you know, in a lot of cases the wood will tell you where it wants to go, and as long as you're able to pick up on that, and as long as you're not trying to force the piece of wood to do something it doesn't want to do, which generally results in things like splitting, you probably won't go far wrong. So I hope it was useful, guys. A bit of a long one today, so I apologise for making you sit through all of that. Comments and questions in the box below. Hit like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I hope you'll all join me next time. Thanks, guys.